Zion National Park is an incredible national park in Utah. It has towering monoliths and some epic hiking trails. And so today I wanted to talk to you about how to trip plan for this park. It's very busy, it's quite complicated, and so we're going to talk you through everything you need to know to plan your trip to Zion National Park. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger. I'm also a Utah native, and so I have spent a ton of time in Zion. I know this park really well. I'm here a lot, and so today I wanted to help you make sure that you have a good plan in place so that you can visit Zion at the right time and know how to navigate the park when you get there. So let's jump in with some Zion trip planning. Let's start with some interesting facts about Zion National Park. So Zion National Park is located in Utah. So looking in the map here, we have Zion right down here. This is Utah. This is the border of Utah. So it's the very southwestern part of Utah. And then you've got Nevada over here. So you're not very far from Mesquite, or if you want to go further, you've got Vegas. And then here's the very top of Arizona. And you can see we've got the Grand Canyon right in this area. So it's a really great area for exploring. Zion National Park is famous for the giant red cliffs that you'll find in this area. And it's absolutely beautiful. You've got this lovely desert landscape with the towering peaks and lots of greenery. You've got a beautiful river going right through it and some just massive hiking trails that you will never forget. So that's what brings people to Zion National Park. Zion National Park was established in 1919. This was National Park number 16, but it was the first one in Utah. So Utah has 5 beautiful national parks. Zion is the first and the busiest. So what I find to be really interesting is that size-wise, Zion National Park is not that big of a national park. It's decent, but there are definitely parks that are bigger. And what else I find interesting is that Zion is always in the top 5 of the most visited national parks in America. So recently, in recent years, it has hit over 5 million visitors per year. So you have 5 million visitors packed into a relatively small area. And that is just the perfect recipe for massive crowds, lots of waiting. This park, in my opinion, is one of the worst as far as feeling like you're just waiting in line all the time, especially if you don't time things right. And so in this trip planner, I'm going to put special emphasis on helping you really navigate through this. But in addition to that, you'll want to pick up the Zion Itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes. That itinerary will walk you through hour by hour where you want to be at what time, because it makes just a massive difference in this park. And that's the one thing that people always come back from Zion saying, I just didn't realize that it would feel so busy. And it does, but there are ways around it. So let's jump into the nitty-gritty of trip planning. First, I want to talk about the best airports to use to get to Zion National Park. I also have a full article on Dirt in My Shoes that walks you through this, and I'm going to use this for showing you some maps. But just so you know, if you want more information, you can find that here. But as I mentioned, Zion is located in the southwest corner of Utah. And so looking at this map, there are a few regional airports you can fly into that are pretty close that will get you within about an hour of Zion National Park, which is right here. But most people don't fly into those regional airports. Most people will fly into an international airport nearby. Looking at this map, so you've got the Harry Reid Airport down here in Vegas, and that is the closest international airport to Zion National Park. It takes about 2.5 hours to get from Vegas up to Zion. What a lot of people like to do is fly into Vegas, and then you can go to Zion, then you can hit all the parks in Utah around here, loop back around, come down to Grand Canyon National Park, and then head back to Vegas. So that's a really nice road trip and something that you can do in 7 to 10 days. And I highly recommend doing that if you have the time. And Vegas is the perfect airport to fly into for that loop. You can also fly into the Salt Lake International Airport, which is up here. From there, you're about 4.5 hours down to Zion. So it's not too bad. The drive down to me, there's not that much to do along the way. Not like Vegas, where you have a stop every few hours that you can take as you're driving around this area. From Salt Lake, you're pretty much just going to want to drive straight there. And then you can do the Utah parks from there if you want to. A lot of people like to fly into Salt Lake, go down to Zion, do the Utah parks out here, and then come back up to Salt Lake and then go up to Wyoming over here and go hit Grand Teton and Yellowstone. So that's another option as well. There are a few roads you'll also want to be aware of as you're driving to Zion National Park. So you will take I-15 to get out here, and then you've got this Highway 9 right here that takes you to the Springdale area and the south entrance of Zion. This is the main entrance to the park. So you'll likely come in this way and enter Zion through here. If you're coming from Bryce Canyon to or from Bryce Canyon, then you'll go out this way and up. This way will take you down to Kanab and down to the north rim of the Grand Canyon. So you may be coming in from this side. It's a lot quieter on this side. There's just not as much to do. Also, as you're driving Highway 9 through here, you'll hit the Zion Mount Carmel tunnel right around in here. And that tunnel has restrictions. It's a very small tunnel, and so you'll want to be aware of that, especially if you're in a larger vehicle or an RV. So if I bring up the park map here, then you can see that. So here's your road coming into the main entrance to Zion National Park. Here's the tunnel right here, and then there's the road you'll take to get out to Bryce Canyon or the Grand Canyon. Zion has several different sections, so there's another road here that will take you up. This is called the Kolob Terrace Road. This one has a campground and an overlook. There's a few trails in here. This is where you'll go to access the subway, so that's why most people come this way. You've got the subway down in here. And then you've got another road up here called the Kolob Canyons Road, and this takes you up to some longer trails and a nice viewpoint. So these are, especially to go up to Kolob Canyons from the main part of Zion, it takes about an hour, hour and a half to drive around and get up there. Most people don't go up here, and if you're a first-time visitor, you're going to want to plan your trip around this main area of Zion right here. Now you'll want to pick a time to visit Zion National Park. And because Zion National Park is at the very bottom of Utah, it does stay pretty warm. You're high in the desert down here, and you do get some really nice temperatures year-round. So Zion is good for year-round travel. Occasionally, you will get snow in the winter time. That snow will linger in the higher elevations, but often melt out down in the lower elevations. And so it is a nice time to be there, especially if you don't want to deal with all the summertime crowding. Summer temperatures can be 100 degrees plus. And so personally for me, I don't really enjoy being in Zion during the summer. It gets really, really hot. And so if you are planning a trip to Zion during the summer, and this is the park's busiest season, so by no means do people shy away from this heat. But if you're visiting in the summer, then you will want to make sure that you have all the sun protection you need, that you're drinking a ton of water. And also when you're planning your schedule, you'll want to take this into account because you'll want to give yourself some time in the middle of the day to get out of the heat. Early mornings, late evenings, that's your ideal time for being out sightseeing in Zion during the summer. So keep that in mind. I particularly love visiting Zion in the fall. I would say that is my favorite season to be there. Even into late October and into November, it stays nice and mild. You have great temperatures for hiking. You can still hike all the trails. Things don't close down in the fall. So that's my ideal time to be in Zion National Park. Springtime is fine. Your temperatures are typically pretty good. You can get out, you can explore a lot. In the spring, you'll hit a few more closures than you will in the fall. And so that's why I typically tend to gravitate towards a fall visit. So for example, if you're hoping to hike the Narrows, which is a beautiful route through the Virgin River and up into some slot canyon areas, that typically is closed during the spring because of all the spring runoff and the water levels are just too high. So things like that can be closed in the spring. You can go earlier, or if you don't care to hike some of the bigger trails or hike the Narrows, then you would have a really nice time in the spring. regardless of the time that you decide to visit the park, you'll want to be aware that this park does get hit by Mother Nature sometimes. Typically, it's in the form of flash flooding. Water in this park, even just a little bit, can create some bigger problems. So not only do you have flash flooding in this park, which typically happens during the summer. We've got monsoon season that comes through during the summer months, but it can happen at any time. And so that flash flooding can affect a lot of the trails, especially the ones that go into the more narrow canyons. So you'll want to be aware of that. But the other thing is, even just a little water can create rock falls. It can cause roads to close down due to unsafe conditions and things like that. So just be aware that Mother Nature can wreak havoc in this park pretty easily. And you'll want to be checking the official Zion website under the alerts or current conditions page to see what's going on in the park before you go. If you need any help navigating through these alerts or current conditions, I keep track of all of this in the Zion Itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes, and I will help you change around your schedule and make different options available to you that you might not know about so that you can work your way around any of these closures or anything that happens in the park. But especially for Zion, you will be wanting to keep up on this because it can affect a lot of different things when a storm rolls through or when something happens from Mother Nature. How many days should you spend in Zion National Park? I get this question a lot. A lot of people who are coming through this area want to hit multiple parks during the same trip. So how many days should you allocate for Zion? Because Zion is a relatively small park, it really doesn't take that long to drive between the entrances or to get around in the park. But what you will want to take into consideration is the crowding, and you'll want to give yourself enough time to take the shuttle buses that are required to get up into certain portions of the park. And so you can do it in a day. You can get in there, see some beautiful things in one day in Zion. But if you're really hoping to go more in depth, especially if you're wanting to hike some of those longer trails like Angel's Landing or the Narrows, anything like that, then you'll want to give yourself at least 2 full days. If you can do 3, that's better because those trails can be quite taxing. They are long and hard trails. And so it's nice to be able to break up your trip with some smaller stops, some more off the beaten path stops, and you can do that with 3 days in the park. Those off the beaten path stops in Zion make a huge difference as far as how crowded the park feels to you. So there will be times that you'll be in those really busy areas and you'll be feeling a little bit claustrophobic, probably just people everywhere, people all around you. And so if you can break up your time a little bit and have some time in those busier areas, but then also have some time in the quieter areas, I think that just adds to the experience in Zion so much better, and it makes it a way more enjoyable trip. I have an article on Dirt in My Shoes about how many days you should spend in Zion, and I'll walk you through kind of what you can expect to get to with the amount of time that you have. The other thing that you'll find in here is some itinerary options to break up your time between multiple parks. I do get this question a lot, and so you'll find this in the How Many Days Should I Spend in Zion post on Dirt in My Shoes. But this one takes a weekend, a week, 10 days, 14 days, and how you can break it up between either all the Utah parks or the Utah parks in the Grand Canyon, Monument Valley, anything like that you want to add in. I have some suggestions here for you. In most national parks, I feel like you have a little bit more flexibility in where you can stay and still have a great experience. In Zion, I am very particular about where I will stay because that can make or break your vacation. So let's talk through some of the reasons why and where I recommend you should stay while visiting Zion National Park. Okay, so here's a map, and you've got Zion National Park right here. And there is an entrance, as I mentioned, the Kolob Canyon's entrance all the way up here. This does not connect to anything down here. You have to drive out and around. And so I don't recommend staying up near this entrance at all. If you want to visit this part of the park, you can day trip here, but if you stay up here, then you're very far from the main stuff that you'll want to do. Okay, and then you've got the east entrance over here, and this area of Zion is a lot quieter. It is getting busier. They are building a lot more stuff. There's not very many places to stay along this road here, but you will find more places to stay out here by Mount Carmel and Orderville. And a lot of people are opting to stay out in this area while visiting Zion. My problem with being out here is just that, again, you are quite far from the main visitor area of Zion National Park. So if you're staying out here, you've still got to drive through here. You've got to wait to get through the tunnel. A lot of the time, it's not very fast getting through that tunnel. And then you've got to get down in here to the main area where you can then explore those big hiking trails and those beautiful views. So can you stay out by the east entrance? Yes, you can. It is a little bit cheaper to stay out there, but for Zion and for how busy this park is, remember, it's in the top 5 busiest national parks, and it's pretty small, and so it gets crowded really quickly. And the closer you can get to the main visitor center, to the shuttle lines, to those big popular hiking trails, then the less crowds there will be because you'll be able to get in there before everybody else. And so I don't like staying out by the east entrance because it's just a little too far for me. That time is really valuable. The time that you're going to spend to get to the main part of Zion can make or break your vacation. So for me personally, I like to be right here by the south entrance. And that even means that I typically will not even go out to Rockville. I won't really stay in Virgin. I don't like to stay in Hurricane. St. George is out this way. It's just too far to get in there to the park at a good time without having to leave like really, really early in the morning. And the problem is pretty early in the morning, this south entrance gets really congested. Those lines that wait to get in there can be an hour long. And then you get to the visitor center in here where you park to take the park shuttle that's mandatory to get up into here, and you can't find parking. And then by the time you do find parking and you get to the shuttle, then the shuttle lines are an hour long. So it just compounds on top of itself. You wait an hour to get in through the entrance. You circle the parking lot for a half an hour to find parking. You wait for an hour to get on the shuttle. So by the time you get up here to where you'll find the Narrows and Angel's Landing and the Grotto and Emerald Pools, all of that is up in here where you have to take the shuttle. And by the time you get up there, it's, half of your day is gone just from waiting in line and trying to find parking. As you can probably tell, I'm really passionate about this because it will break your vacation if you can't get in there at a good time and if you can't get parking and if you have to wait everywhere you want to go. So I like to stay right there in Springdale. I even get pretty picky as it comes to Springdale as well. I like to be as close to the Zion entrance as possible because it just cuts down on that wait time and all the traffic and crowding problems. So what's nice, if you look at the park map here, so you'll see there's Springdale right here, and there's an entrance to get into the park here. You've got Zion, the Zion Canyon Visitor Center here. The nice thing about Zion is if you're wanting to camp in the park, these two campgrounds, the Watchman and the South campgrounds, are within walking distance of the visitor center and the shuttle stop. And so that makes a huge difference as well. If you're camping, try really, really hard to get into these campgrounds because it makes a huge difference as to how quickly you're able to get into the park and explore. The other thing is you've got the Zion Lodge up here, and this is prime real estate because you're already halfway up the canyon. They require you to take shuttles through this canyon for most of the year. There's only a couple of months in the winter and spring that you don't have to take this shuttle. But for most people, you will have to take this shuttle to get up into this area. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But the Zion Lodge is already up here. And if you're staying at the Zion Lodge, they let you drive your car to the Zion Lodge. And then you can just pick up the shuttle from here and take it all around up in here. And that makes a huge difference as well. So in this case, for me, it is definitely worth the extra money because you're trading that money for time that you don't have to spend in line and trying to get around the park. So I love staying in the campgrounds in the park. I love staying in the Zion Lodge, even though it's only 20 minutes from the town of Springdale. Like, you wouldn't think it makes that big of a difference, but with Zion, it absolutely does. If you've already started planning your trip and you've already made your lodging reservations, and you might be saying, Ash, I didn't book lodging in Springdale or in the park. Is it still going to work for me? And I would say, I mean, absolutely. You can still make it work. It's just going to be a little bit harder for you to avoid those crowds. And so you have to decide, if you're able to change your lodging and if you're able to afford it, because I understand, like, Springdale is very expensive to stay in and the Zion Lodge can be pretty pricey. And so if you're not able to get there, it's okay. We can make it work. But if you can switch things around, if you can get into Springdale or into Zion right there, it really will make a big difference. So I encourage you to do that. But if not, I can help you with that. The Zion Itinerary will walk you through how to change the schedule and what adjustments you'll need to make if you're not staying in that area. So there's definitely ways to do it. But for me personally, it is worth staying as close to that south entrance as I can possibly get. Okay, so let's take a breath. That's the nitty-gritty of the trip planning. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of how to set up your vacation to Zion so that it can be a roaring success, so that it works for your family and for your group, and so that you're able to really enjoy your time in the park. But now let's talk about some of the fun stuff, which is all the activities that you can do in Zion and things that I definitely recommend you don't miss while you're there. You will find a huge list of things to do in Zion National Park on dirtandmyshoes.com. I've got all of these activities here. You can jump down, activities with kids, if you love to hike, if you don't love to hike, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're hoping to bike, if you're visiting during the winter, all of that is here. So you can refer to that if I don't touch on things that specifically talk to you. So you can refer to that if I don't talk about things that specifically you're hoping to do while you're in Zion, but here are a few things you'll definitely want to do while you're there. Let's look at a map again. So coming in here, most of the main activities are up here along this. It's called the Zion Canyon Scenic Drive, but this is where the mandatory shuttles go and take you to these trailheads up in here. And it is absolutely beautiful in this area. Some of the main things that you won't want to miss as you're visiting Zion and as you're taking the shuttle up in here. First, you've got the Emerald Pools Trail, and this trail is fantastic for families. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter. You see stuff that's really cool pretty early on, and so you don't have to do a big long hike to enjoy this. Water along the red rocks is just a beautiful sight. We often see deer in this area. There's a waterfall. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So definitely add that one to your list. And then you've got Angel's Landing. And Angel's Landing starts here at the grotto, and you go up and it takes you to the top of a peak. But this isn't just any hike. So this hike, you can hike up and it is a good elevation climb as you're going up to the top of Angel's Landing. But for the last half mile of this trail, you are holding on to chains that are bolted into the rocks to keep you safe as you go along these cliff edges up to the top of Angel's Landing. So this is a trail that is absolutely epic. It is easily one of the most famous trails in any national park. People know about Angel's Landing, even if they don't hike. And so this is one that if you can do it, I would definitely recommend doing so. You do need to get a permit to hike that chain section of Angel's Landing at the very top. And I have a full YouTube video about how to get that permit. So if this really interests you and you want to get that permit, then check out that video. But otherwise, you can just start hiking the trail and turn around at any time, but the views are amazing. Okay, and then continuing up Zion Canyon, then you'll get to some smaller stops that are just really nice stops. But the main thing up in this area is getting off at the Temple of Sinawava, which is the last stop of the shuttle route. And this is where you find the Riverside Walk, which is a really great trail for everybody. It's mostly flat, it's not very long. It follows the Virgin River and it's absolutely beautiful. So I highly recommend doing that. Beyond the Riverside Walk, when you get to the end of the Riverside Walk, that is where the Narrows starts. And the Narrows follows the Virgin River up into here. You can see it there. And you can hike up to 5 miles each way. If you start from the Temple of Sinawava and go up, you can hike 5 miles and then you turn back around and come down. And this hike is just absolutely epic. You will want to do this one while you're here if you can. And again, as I mentioned, if you really have your heart set on hiking the Narrows, then I don't recommend visiting in the spring. It's often closed at that time of year due to high water levels. So keep that in mind, but it is absolutely beautiful. It is such a fun hike and you can go as far as you want. You will want to rent the right gear to do this. It makes it so much more enjoyable. And I have a full video about tips for hiking the Narrows that you can check out if that interests you. Okay, so those are the main things up along here. There are a few other trails that you can do down here from the visitor center. So you've got the Watchman Trail over here. You've got the Paroose Trail down here. The Paroose Trail is the only bike-friendly trail in the park. It's also the only dog-friendly trail in the park. So keep that in mind. That's a great option if you're on a bike or if you have your pet with you. And then beyond that, so this really is the busy part of the park. This is where everybody wants to be. If you drive up this way, then you'll get completely different views because you're up above Zion Canyon. You're in the higher areas of the park. From up here, you have the Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel, which is a really fun tunnel to drive through. My kids love this tunnel. It's something that you'll remember forever. And when you get to the other side of the tunnel, then you've got the Canyon Overlook Trail that you can hike to, and it looks down into Zion Canyon. The Canyon Overlook Trail is a really fun, family-friendly trail. It feels adventurous, and that's what I love about Zion, is pretty much everything you do here feels just like it has an extra dose of adventure. And so even if you have small kids with you, you can hike the Canyon Overlook Trail and still have some fun adventures. This one has like some bridges that you go across. There's some steps that are carved into the rocks that you have to go up. And there are some cliff edges, so you'll want to keep your kids close, but it's a really fun, family-friendly trail. Beyond that, you've got beautiful scenery, this whole stretch of road, and then you'll get out to Checkerboard Mesa, which is a really recognizable formation in Zion, and it only takes a few minutes to stop here and to check it out, but we love driving out to here. The scenery up here is different. It's not as busy up in here. A lot of times we'll see bighorn sheep up in here, so it's a really nice area to visit. You can easily fill 2 or 3 days exploring those 2 sections of Zion National Park. If you have more than 2 or 3 days, then that's when you can venture up to the Kolob Terrace Road. That's when you can go up Kolob Canyons. But 2 days in Zion, you'll really want to focus mostly on that Zion Canyon Scenic Drive where you have to take the shuttles, and the eastern part of Zion where it's a little bit quieter. Again, there are some things that I didn't cover. There are other things you can do in this area. So if you have specific things that you're looking for, check out this article on Dirt in My Shoes. So what does a typical day in Zion look like? If you're going to Zion National Park and you're hoping to stick to those main areas with the big hikes that you probably have on your bucket list, then you'll want to get up nice and early and drive to the visitor center, get parking, and take the shuttle. So let's talk about the shuttle because this is a huge part of your trip to Zion and it's something that you'll want to understand. So let's take a look. The Zion shuttle system actually works quite efficiently. It's a really good shuttle system. The problems that you'll run into is just that it gets really, really busy at this park, and so the wait times can get long, but they run it really well. It's a really nice shuttle system. And so what you'll do is if you're staying in Springdale, there is a Springdale line that you can catch at the main areas of Springdale. So if you are staying in one of these hotels, then you can just catch the shuttle right from there. And what it will do is it will take you right outside of Zion National Park. And then there's a footbridge that you walk across to get to the visitor center. And they do check your passes along that footbridge. It is an entrance where you'll have to pay an entrance fee, but it's really nice because they drop you off, you walk across the bridge, you get to the visitor center. Then from the visitor center, you'll catch the Zion Canyon shuttle. And these are the stops of the Zion Canyon shuttle. And so you'll want to plan out which stops you need for the activities that you're hoping to get to. Again, looking at the park map, here's where that shuttle goes, the park shuttle. And the Springdale shuttle line runs down in here. So just to give you a little context there. You don't need a reservation to ride the shuttle. You don't need any special tickets or anything. That's just included with your park entrance. And so you'll want to get parking or take the Springdale shuttle line in, and then you'll catch that Zion Canyon shuttle for the day. And what I do recommend doing is getting there pretty early, and then especially if you're visiting during the summer, you'll probably want to build in a few hours in the middle of the day when it's really hot to do something else. And so your typical day in Zion National Park during the summer would include a nice morning hike, a break in the middle of the day, and then go back out in the evening to do some other things. So you'll take the shuttle up to these areas, and you probably really only need to take the shuttle for one day. I would try to hit everything you can, just taking the shuttle one day, because then the next day you can drive your own vehicle up to the other areas of the park. So that's really nice. You don't have to be on the shuttle for your whole trip. The other thing you can do to get around the park, and in lieu of taking the shuttle, is you can have bikes or e-bikes up there. And so that's a really fun option for a lot of people. If it's an e-bike, it has to be a pedal assist, but you can get up in there on a bike instead of taking the shuttle, and that's a different option. I don't recommend walking up along the shuttle lines, at least not for very long, because that does get pretty long. It's a 9-mile road. And so to move around faster, I would either bike or take the shuttle. As far as food goes while you're out exploring, so there are a few restaurants at the Zion Lodge. And again, that's a really nice location because you're right in the middle of the park. So you can eat food there. There is a picnic area at the grotto. And so that's another option if you bring your own food. Otherwise, there's actually really not much. There's really no other picnic areas. I mean, there's some tables just kind of spread throughout and some restrooms that you can stop at and things like that. But your main eating area in this park is just going to be between the Zion Lodge and the grotto. And going out the east side of the park, there's really nothing. There's hardly even any bathrooms. So there is a bathroom over here at the east entrance, and there is like some pit toilets down kind of in the middle here and by the Canyon Overlook Trail. There's no running water along this road, so you will want to bring your own water. But just keep that in mind because for this national park and how busy it gets, it is pretty surprising that there are not more amenities here. You do have the town of Springdale, which has a ton of restaurants and some really, really good restaurants. Springdale is great for food. But again, if you're planning on taking the shuttle all day or you've worked really hard to find a parking spot, you might not want to leave it and go into Springdale for lunch. So keep that in mind as you're planning. In most cases, it probably makes sense just to stay in the park for as long as you can, unless you need that midday break because it's super hot outside. I mentioned that there's not really running water on the east side of the park, and that's really important to note because water is so important while you're in Zion National Park. Make sure you bring more water than you think you'll need. Make sure you're bringing a lot of sun protection. You'll want hats, you'll want sunscreen, because it does get really hot and that sun is very unforgiving and can really cause some problems for you if you don't come prepared for the heat. So if you're planning on being out during the day and out hiking and sightseeing, then you will want to plan really well for the hotter temperatures. I hope that gives you a really good overview of what to expect in Zion. And again, like some of that nitty-gritty planning stuff that a lot of people don't talk about. So hopefully this was helpful, and I hope that you're able to get a really good trip plan in place. Again, if you need any help with this, I have a full Zion itinerary that will walk you through the timing. It explains how to take the shuttle really, really well. It will make sure that you're at those places when you need to be there so that you're not just stuck in the crowds all day. So you will find that itinerary over at Dirt in My Shoes if you want my specific help planning out your vacation. I hope you have just a fantastic time in Zion, and I hope that you get some dirt in your shoes.